Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Commissioner Look,
Here.
Commissioner Brasted,
Here.
Commissioner West,
Here.
Commissioner Schulte,
Here.
Commissioner Meisner,
Here.
Commissioner Gamache,
Here.
Commissioner Reinert.
Here.
And we are all present and accounted for. Next item on the agenda is tax claims and abatements. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Brasted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brasted,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
That item passes. Next, we'll consider accepting the regular claims paid over $500 and purchase card claims paid for the period ending April 8th of 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Look. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brasted.
Aye.
That item passes. Item 6 on your agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April 12th, 2022 County Board meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Brasted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Any additions or changes to the minutes as presented? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? The minutes are unanimously adopted. Next, we will move to Chair's Remarks. And for our first item under Chair's Remarks today, we're going to take a moment to commend our correctional staff as part of National Correctional Officers Week, which is May 1st to May 7th this year. As Chair of our Public Safety Committee, I'd like Commissioner Brasted to lead this recognition. Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our correctional officers are a vital part of our criminal justice system, but due to the nature of the profession, they often do not get the recognition they deserve. They primarily work behind the walls of prisons and jails, serving in a difficult and often dangerous environment that is unknown to most members of society. They ensure the safety of the public and prisoners, and when their shifts are over, many of them serve our communities in other ways, as youth sports coaches at local churches, or they volunteer at places like food pantries. Being a correctional officer is a career that comes without much fanfare. But during National Correctional Officers Week, we draw attention to those who serve in this field because we appreciate their hard work, sacrifice, and dedication to public safety. Now I'm going to ask Dylan Workington, our Director of Community Corrections, and Sheriff James Stewart to tell us more about correction staff and the services they provide. Good morning and welcome, gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Dylan Workington. I'm the Community Corrections Director. I wholeheartedly affirm what Commissioner Brasted just read regarding correctional officers, and just wanted to make a few comments and appreciation, and also to just say thank you for your recognition of our staff as well. Being a correctional officer is in the criminal justice system. It's a highly complex world. There are no time limits to these jobs. They're 365 days a year, 24/7. Specifically, as a corrections department director, looking at evidence-based practices and how we improve our serve all the time, how we make it better. And these correctional officers have an integral part in that. Every contact that we make every day, every interaction makes a difference. It either builds trust or negates it. It either improves someone or it can destroy someone as well. And so these are important jobs in those interactions. And so the clients that our correctional officers serve have medical concerns, often psychological concerns. They are also at a low point in life. Many of them are without jobs and financial supports. And so they need a lot of support. And so I'm very proud of the work that's being done every day specifically at our workhouse where correctional officers are the primary employees as well. And they just do an outstanding job of engagement. Just even through the pandemic itself, we have not had the ability for this particular group to work remote or to work uniquely different than what they did in the past. We were able to curve populations for a period of time and reduce that, which helped reduce risk, but that is artificial and it can't last. And so they've just done an outstanding job of following protocols and doing what they need to do to keep people safe within the facility and engaging them appropriately to give them a better path forward. So we're very proud of them, and thanks again for your acknowledgement of their work.
Well, good morning, everyone. I appreciate the partnership with Dylan throughout the years and certainly appreciate the partnership with each of you as well. For the record, my name is James Stewart. It remains my distinct honor and privilege to serve as the Sheriff of Anoka County, and this morning to be again partnered with Dylan to be able to recognize such a unique and special group of people. Each year, the first week of May is dedicated as a time to recognize the commitment that detention deputies and correctional officers bring to their difficult and dangerous line of work. And on May 5th, 1984, President Ronald Reagan delivered a proclamation designating that week as National Correctional Officers Week. And during this week, we recognize our detention deputies and correctional officers who exemplify professionalism, integrity, and strength in the face of a difficult and often dangerous work environment. Since then, our nation has recognized the value of continuing this recognition and appreciation of those who have accepted this calling in their life. During the 1984 proclamation, the President and possibly the nation began to recognize that our team members are no longer seen as guards, but have truly become expanded roles and are certainly seen as professionals due to their training, the expectations, and their overall role. And we certainly recognize today that they are highly trained professionals. The importance of all the staff members who serve something larger than self simply cannot be overstated because each one of them has a very important role. But our detention deputies and correctional officers truly are the unsung heroes. They're out of sight and sometimes out of mind. And that's why this week is so important because, quite honestly, they should never be out of mind. As detention deputies on a daily basis, our team sees some of the worst experiences that any given individual and a society can endure. They work with inmates who sometimes have just made a mistake, who sometimes are in need of mental health treatment, and sometimes are completely evil and wish to do them or others harm. Their environment is always unpredictable and often volatile. Our brother and sister officers must actively engage in these unpredictable environments, sometimes in life and death situations as part of their regular duties. A job that is being done 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, without pause, without exception, and without excuses. Few people truly understand the difficulties that correctional professionals face on a regular basis, oftentimes at great personal risk. Despite these challenges, they rise to the occasion daily and work tirelessly to ensure a better chance for successful reintegration for offenders, to ensure a safe and secure confinement, and an environment in which they minimize liability and mitigate challenges as they protect and serve our community. Their job is difficult enough on a daily basis, but these times have been especially unnerving due to the unprecedented challenges, including the anti-law enforcement rhetoric, the enlarged community issues, and this little thing we all call COVID. Despite the challenges, despite the potential for fear, and despite that they are literally locked into a small community that is a potential petri dish, our detention staff remember their calling, they remember their oath, and they show up and continue to serve and protect every single hour of every single day. In short, they play a critical role in improving public safety for the citizens of our county and our entire state. And I would like to take this opportunity to officially say thank you for the outstanding work that our detention deputies and correctional officers across Anoka County do. Thank you for your commitment to excellence and your perseverance through every single challenge. Thank you for accepting a call to work in a challenging environment in which your rewards are few in order to ensure a better and safer community for each one of us. I also want to say thank you to the Anoka County Board of Commissioners for your leadership and for the acknowledgement of their service of these detention deputies and correctional officers by recognizing their efforts, their professionalism, and their value. Lastly, if our listeners and our audience happen to know someone in the detention or correctional field, I strongly encourage you to take a moment to thank them for their service to our communities. Thank you.
Well, Sheriff Stewart and Dylan, thank you for being here today, and a special thanks to your corrections staff. Our corrections officers are truly an indispensable part of law enforcement, and we are grateful for the services they provide. This is not an easy job, and it has been even more difficult over the past 2+ years because of the challenges of the pandemic and civil unrest. But I know our corrections officers have risen to the challenge, and they've performed their duties with the exceptional degree of professionalism, and I am truly proud of them and you as their leaders. Thank you again. Commissioner Meisner.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much. And so, Dylan, I've had the privilege to work with you for a couple of years, and you already spoke a lot about this, but I did just want to acknowledge to you that, that your clients come to you under really negative circumstances, and you do something positive or try to, and you're changing people's lives. And I've really heard the stories over the years, and I just want to recognize that and thank you for working so hard to do this.
And I've stated this once or twice before, and I'm sure I heard it from the sheriff originally, but there is not a prisoner that's serving a life sentence or 30 years for murder or anything that didn't spend time in the county jail first. They all come through us, and they come past our correctional officers. And it's just one more eye-opening thing that a lot of people don't know about county jails, and that is we deal with the worst of the worst, and sometimes really good people having a bad day. But the professionalism your teams have shown is truly exemplary. And with that, at this time, I'd like to offer Resolution 2022-53, which honors the hard work and dedication of our county's corrections staff and provides special recognition to them during National Correctional Officers Week. That resolution has been offered. Further discussion? Commissioner Gamache.
Just to thank you again. I'm glad we do this. This is a way to thank them when we don't have the chance to do it personally, but through both of you, thank them immensely for the work they do every single day, as was mentioned, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When we've been on our tours of jails and facilities around the county as we begin to plan our own new facilities, it is so eye-opening to go back in and see the facilities in other counties and see the people working there just like they're working here in Anoka County, and really truly understand what it is that they do on a daily basis, and they don't receive the accolades or sometimes our thank you. So thank you, and please thank all of them.
And there's a resolution before us, and seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Our second item today is to recognize the deputies who serve in our sheriff's office and the officers who work in the county's 11 other law enforcement agencies as part of National Peace Officers Week, which this year is May 11th through May 17th. I'm going to again ask Commissioner Brasted to lead this recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Peace officers often face many difficult situations in their line of work. They constantly need to be on guard because something as routine as a traffic stop or responding to a disturbance can quickly turn dangerous. Our deputies and officers train extensively to know how to deal with these situations and de-escalate them as expertly as possible. But even though there are stoic, steadfast protectors, sometimes the stress of the job can get to them. That's why it's important for us to commend our peace officers for the sacrifices they make to protect public safety. Peace Officer Week in Anoka County is the perfect opportunity to praise our law enforcement for the work they do. So if you see an officer or a deputy out in public, please be sure to tell them you're appreciative of their service. Sheriff Stewart will now take the podium to say a few words about this special week.
Again, thank you so much for taking a minute to allow me and to be a part of recognizing not just our heroes who choose to sacrificially serve others by swearing that oath and putting on that shield, but also to recognize our fallen heroes who died making the ultimate sacrifice in service to our communities. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which that date falls as Police Week. This week has been significant to law enforcement ever since, and we participate in a wide variety of events annually. Of course, the last 2 years, much like the rest of society, has had some negative impacts on our state and national involvement in some of those programs. Anoka County has a long history of support for this proclamation and for this profession. And the Anoka County Sheriff's Office also has a long history of recognizing this week. And as you all know, we have been honored to host a law enforcement memorial event during this week for decades. Sadly, we have had to push pause and create video tributes in lieu of our in-person memorial services due to the challenges created by the pandemic. But we do encourage everyone to follow the Anoka County Sheriff's Office social media outlets for those online tributes to our fallen heroes, and especially those in Anoka County law enforcement. As for today, our protectors, our deputies remain worthy of our recognition, and I thank you, each one of you, for acknowledging them. Our deputies swear an oath to protect and serve in the good times and in the bad times, and the last couple of years have certainly tested their resolve with bad times. They have chosen a career path in which their routines are anything but routine. Their service as protectors is under attack by those who deny the truth about their hearts of service, and their own safety, security, and peace of mind continue to take a back seat to the ability and the calling to serve others. They choose to help others in time of need, to render aid at horrific crashes, to care for victims of every type of horrific act of evil that someone would commit on another human. And they also choose to serve others, even if it means sacrificing their time with family and by working strange shifts and holidays. And as if their normal shifts weren't daunting enough, these days they've had to be on the front lines of the riots and the ongoing unrest and the COVID pandemic, creating even greater risks to their own health and that of their families. Well, they are used to confronting danger and battling what others fear. They have had the added concern of the justice system failing them, of being targeted in their own homes or bringing a virus home to their families each night. Nonetheless, they remain noble and they remain steadfast, and they remain worthy of our appreciation and this acknowledgement. And I will close by saying thank you to all of our Anoka County law enforcement, and especially our deputies, for accepting the call to serve something larger than self, to protect our families, and to put yourself in harm's way so that others can live in a safer society. We all appreciate your daily sacrifices and your commitment to serve with honor, sacrifice, and pride while embracing our mission statement. I also want to again say thank you to the Anoka County Board of Commissioners for your leadership in our communities and for acknowledging the service and sacrifice of our deputies and the larger law enforcement community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Stewart, for your leadership. It has truly been a pleasure to work with you on our Public Safety Committee over this years.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the men and women in the Anoka County law enforcement. My fellow board members and I extend our gratitude to you for the work you do to protect our communities. Mr. Chair, at this time I'd like to offer Resolution 2022-54, recognizing Peace Officers Week in Anoka County, and I ask the rest of the board to join me in support.
Resolution has been offered and is before you. Further discussion, Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you again, Sheriff. We worked together back when I was mayor of Andover. I want to and Commander Linsmeyer also for the work that you did and working with our team in Andover for many years. You appeared before our city council meetings and discussed what was happening in Andover. And I really appreciate for the residents of Andover, when we had discussions about our police, whether to have a police force or to continue our work with the sheriff's office, we always would bring back the budget numbers and say, here's what they're doing, and here's how well they're doing it, and here's how much it's going to cost. And we could always justify with the move that we did to say, let's stay with the sheriff's office. They've done great work for us. So I do appreciate that, and the citizens of Andover appreciate that as well. And I know some of the other cities around the county that have the sheriff's office as their police force. It's always been professional. You've always been there to help the city council and the mayors and the city staff. And I just appreciate the hard work that you put in that regard as well. Thank you.
And I will say, as a member of this county board, a representative to the Joint Law Enforcement Council, how lucky we are to have that Joint Law Enforcement Council, and the cities and the sheriff's office and everybody that belongs to that Joint Law Enforcement Council. It's a model that any other county or state could do, but none of them seem to have success putting it together. And that's mainly due to the leadership of our police departments and our sheriff and our county attorney's office, that they are all willing to work together for the common good of the citizen in Anoka County. And that's not gonna change, but the people in those seats are gonna change after this election. We're gonna have a new county attorney, we're gonna have a new sheriff. And we're hoping that they all have the same mindset, that we can keep working together as county law enforcement officers and the rest of the council that sits there, so we can continue to do what's right for the public. With that, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And that resolution is adopted. Thank you again, Sheriff. The job of a peace officer, as you and Commissioner Brasted mentioned, is never easy, but it is essential. Our officers and deputies investigate crime and respond to disasters, serve as expert witnesses in court, interact with the public at community events, and so much more. They are the pillars upon which our society stands, and we are profoundly grateful for their service. With that, we will now move on to your additional agenda and then on to committee reports from there. So we'll move to the additional agenda, and I will turn this over to the Chair of the Management Committee, Commissioner West.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like the board to consider the following as recommended by our committee. Adopting resolution number 2022 M3. It's a resolution approving the tentative agreement between the County of Anoka and Law Enforcement Labor Services, Inc. It's representing the office investigators in the medical examiner's office for March 23, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. This is a retroactive action, and it is contract 0009205, and I'll offer the resolution.
The resolution has been offered and is before you. Is there any further discussion?
Can I just
Commissioner Gamache.
ask a quick question? Being that it's retroactive, we're not actually approving a future contract into 2022.
That's correct. This is for, I think, the last 7 or 8, 9 months of 2021.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner West.
since this is the first time this group is organized,
Oh, okay.
it was done this way to put them in line with the other groups.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, this resolution requires a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert? Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Brasted?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
That item passes.
And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner West. We'll now move back to our regular agenda. We'll move on to committee reports, and we'll start with the Transportation Committee report. Our committee had the opportunity to meet on Monday, April 18th in Andover at the Highway Building, and we have some action items for you to consider. Our first item, the committee recommends approval to enter into a joint powers agreement with the City of Andover and the City of Anoka for intersection improvements on 7th Avenue at 143rd Avenue. This is the intersection immediately north of Bunker Lake Boulevard on 7th Avenue. It's on the city border between Andover and Anoka. So this is a joint powers agreement between all 3 entities, the county and both cities. I will turn it over to Joe if you have any further explanation that I might have missed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Joe McPherson. I'm the Transportation Division Manager and County Engineer. So as Mr. Chair had mentioned, this is on the border between the City of Andover and the City of Anoka. There is a new development unfolding in the northeast quadrant here of what you see on the screen. Along with that development, they're actually constructing a new roadway, which will be known as 143rd Avenue. This is a project that both cities have been working on for over a decade, and it's finally come into fruition here with a developer in that northeast quadrant. With that, there'll be the introduction and construction of a new signal system at that intersection. Due to the proximity of that new intersection to Bunker Lake Boulevard, the county has been involved with the development of the plans for this project. And we do have a slight cost share with this project, which is noted in the action item. But we've worked with both cities. They've both been great partners on this project. They're actually leading the charge on the design. And this joint powers agreement essentially memorializes what the cost and maintenance responsibilities are for this project.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Gamache. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Look. Further discussion? Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I remember this plan being put in place many years ago while I was still mayor, so it's good to see it's finally coming up, and I'm glad we're able to work with the city on this because it's a big development that they're doing down just to the south there on the corner of Bunker and 7th. So having that intersection and figuring out where exactly it would fit, but thanks for the work of our staff to work with them on that because it'll be a nice commercial and I believe residential development that's coming into that area. So thank you.
Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye. That item passes unanimously. Item 2 on your transportation agenda, the committee recommends approval to enter into a joint powers agreement with the city of Coon Rapids for the intersection improvements on Coon Rapids Boulevard at Blackfoot Street in the city of Coon Rapids. This is the signalized intersection at the east entrance to Mercy Hospital. And again, I will turn it over to our county engineer if he has anything additional to add.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this is a joint powers agreement. It just memorializes the cost and maintenance responsibility. This is a signal replacement. The county was successful in receiving Highway Safety Improvement Program funds. Those are federal funds through their safety program. So a majority of the cost of this project is actually covered with federal dollars.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Brassad. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
That also passes unanimously. Item 3, the committee recommends approval to enter into a joint powers agreement with the city of Columbus for the realignment of West Freeway Drive and improvements to Lamprey Pass, which is a DNR roadway in the city of Columbus. And this has a lot to do with the new bridge that was recently built over 35 and our realignment of West Freeway Drive to that roundabout. So I will turn it again to Joe for more explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so really this is the last chapter in the Trunk Highway 97-35 bridge project. And so West Freeway Drive, south of Lake Drive, just south of the roundabout that everyone sees on the screen here, that is a county leg of that road, as you had mentioned. To the north of that, where you see the little stub off the north side of that roundabout, that is actually a city leg to West Freeway Drive. Same name, different ownership. Essentially what they want to do is, as you can see on the screen there, just northeast of the Holiday gas station where West Freeway Drive intersects Lake Drive, we're actually going to realign that to tie into the new roundabout. That way that roadway will have full access. As it sits today, due to the construction of that new bridge, which is a diverging diamond interchange, it is actually restricted to a right-in, right-out scenario. So to provide the most access in a safe and convenient manner, we'd like to realign that roadway. The joint powers agreement that's before you spells out the cost participation, also some of the process that's involved with the funding mechanisms that are involved in this project. That's a long story. I'll spare you the details on all of that, but essentially this memorializes those agreements and all the responsibilities associated with that.
Is there a motion to approve?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval for the county to enter into a joint powers agreement C0008574 with the city of Columbus.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
I have multiple seconds. I'll go with Commissioner Gamache. I think I heard his voice the loudest. So we have a motion and a second And under discussion, I'll just say that this project overall went really well. We went to the state for some bond dollars. I don't hear anything negative over there anymore. There used to be a lot of complaints about what happened on that bridge and surrounding roadways, and I don't hear anything anymore, and I think no news is good news. I've driven it a couple of times. I think it works really nicely. And I commend our staff at Anoka County for kind of spearheading all of that and making sure that we didn't wind up with MnDOT's original proposal, which was replace the bridge as is, a single lane in each direction, no turn lanes. I mean, it was problematic at best. And this is the ultimate outcome when you have professionals working together. So I thank you and your staff for that, Joe.
Thank you. Pass that along.
Further discussion. Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you. This is a very interesting project that we're going to have. I just want to get some clarification now. So the West Freeway that's drive to the north is going to get moved over to the roundabout, and then it'll tie in with the one that's to the south of the road. The Evers Street Northeast, there's no changes to that in this plan?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, great question. So Evers Street, as it's shown on the screen right now, that actually used to be West Freeway Drive.
Okay.
South of Highway 23.
Gotcha.
That got converted to a city street. And actually we severed the connection at Lake Drive with Evers Street.
Okay.
When we realigned West Freeway Drive to the south.
Okay,
So-
so I think I see there's a cul-de-sac there or something at the end. Okay,
Correct.
okay, good. So that road is still going to be there because it serves a couple businesses, I believe.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Reinert.
Just a quick comment. You know, we do have great relationships with state agencies, but, you know, I do like it when the county has the tenacity to push through and, I guess, propose and then complete what's actually needed.
Well, thank you for the clarification. I was casting no aspersions on MnDOT. They do their best with the allotment of money they get, and they didn't have the money. So it just took us working with them to find more money to make sure the project could happen. Certainly, they have qualified engineers and hardworking people that wanted a better project. And politically, they just didn't have the money to do it, and it took some effort on behalf of Anoka County and others to make sure that happened. So thank you, Commissioner Reinert, for that clarification. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Breasted,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte, Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
That item passes. That concludes our action items. I will just bring up under informational items, we did have MnDOT in to discuss their proposed project at Ferry Street in the railroad crossing for Burlington, Northern Santa Fe. They laid out a number of different options that they've looked at and how it affect local neighborhoods. And we've got a ways to go before that project happens, but certainly a lot of interest in making sure that it does happen and making sure that it's done right the first time. So we'll stay deeply engaged with them to make sure that we can be a part of that process. With that, that does conclude my transportation report, and we will now move to Commissioner Look and the Finance and Capital Improvements Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance and Capital Improvements Committee met on April 19th. We came away with one action item, which is the committee recommends the county board approve amendment number 3 for contract C0007891 with Plant Moran out of Michigan for the business process improvement and change management services related to the new finance and procurement system that we are implementing. Some of this includes business process improvement services, change management services, and really we're looking to bring them on board as kind of a subject matter experts on topics that we need to implement the system. This contract is for an amount not to exceed $352,300, but it is on an hourly basis, so depending on what we need, we'll be able to hire them for that purpose.
Thank you, Commissioner Look. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Gamache. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Breasted. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Breasted,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
That item passes.
And Mr. Chair, the rest is for informational purposes, and that concludes that report.
Thank you, Commissioner Look. Let's go ahead and then move to your Finance and Capital Improvements Committee Chair report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recommend that the county board approves contract C0009074 with Loomis Armored out of Houston, Texas for the Smart Safe and Courier Services in an amount of $2,932.68 for essentially the services that we have right now, picking up our, call it money bags or however you want to call it, but money from different areas that we gather, whether it's at the different departments that we have. So essentially we have a service right now that's not really meeting the needs that we have, but this offers a safer and more secure way of collecting those dollars. And as from what I understand, the amount is kind of a wash. Corey is here, but it's kind of a wash in terms of what we're paying. We're budgeting about $45,000 for it annually, and it's somewhat falling within that range. I don't know if.
I would, just one quick clarification, the $2,900 amount that's per month on a 5-year deal. Corey.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Look, members of the board, my name is Corey Campbell. I'm the Finance and Central Services Division Manager for Anoka County. What we are doing here with smart safes, we are looking at putting in, at this point, 6 smart safes throughout the county, 1 at each of the license centers, which has a lot of cash coming in, and then 1 at the government center here, because we do get a lot of cash through our departments here as well. And what this allows is that, right now, armored car services do not come on a daily basis. There is a there's a large problem with staffing, and we are not a priority compared to banks. And so they make choices, and so because of that, we've been looking at other opportunities. With the smart safes, we can deposit the cash in there. They would come once a week, but we get bank credit on the cash that goes into the smart safe the next day. So we get immediate depository of that into our accounts. And so it creates a win-win for both of us. We get the money in the bank, they don't have to pick it up on a daily basis. Because right now, we've also run into problems where some of our money has been traveling for 10 days before it ever actually hits a bank. So this has been a problem, and this has been something we've been really working towards over the last number of months. And so, we are keeping within a similar budgeted amount, and we're continuing, to look at how we manage cash and making sure we're doing it safely for our employees as well. So.
Thank you, Corey. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Brasted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Further discussion. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You said, wow, 10 days sometimes before getting to a bank. That is a long time, so I'm glad to hear that improvement. And then I just have a question about this language, because it's talking about the $2,932.68 per month for 5 years, but then it also says renewal available for 2 consecutive 1-year terms. So is that 7 years, or is that just 2 different timelines?
Right. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Meisner, Commissioners, that is for 5 years plus up to 2 more years, so a total of 7 years. That is
Got
correct.
it. Thank you.
Further discussion. Seeing none, this requires a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brasted?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
And that item passes.
Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Very good. Then we'll move on to the Human Services Committee report. Commissioner Reinert.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we do have a few items for you this morning. The Human Services Committee did meet on April 19th of last week, and we've got a couple of consent items to start us off with, and I'll move those.
We have, we're going to actually take that's item 1 and 2.
Yes.
We'll take them separately because we need a roll call vote on each.
Okay, then we'll take 1 first.
Item 1 is before you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Any further discussion? And this requires a roll call vote.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert?
Aye.
Look?
Aye.
And Commissioner Brasted?
Aye.
That item passes.
Then we'll take item number 2 under Human Services Administration, contract with ACAP.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move that.
There's a motion before us by Commissioner Reinhardt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner West.
I will be abstaining because I sit on the board of ACAP.
Commissioner West will abstain. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhardt?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Abstain.
And that item passes with one abstention by Commissioner West.
All right, to continue, we've got three more items, one under social services. This is to consider the county board apply for and accept community living infrastructure grant contract number C0009176 from the Minnesota Department of Human Services to support and staff our housing help desk in the amount of $794,192 from June 1st, 22 through March 31st, 2024. And primarily, this is basically, you know, people that are released with mental health and, you know, people that, you know, are released from detox. You know, this is for housing needs for those communities that need that.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Meisner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner?
Excuse me, aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhardt?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye. That item passes.
And we've got one item under job training. This is consider the county board apply for and accept Project Focus, that's Family Opportunity through Coordinated and Unduplicated Services Grant, contract number C0009196 from the Minnesota Department of Human Services to provide enhanced services for temporary assistance for needy families in the amount of $135,000 per year through September 30th, 2024. And as we did listen to the description of what this $135,000 actually does, pretty economic.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Meisner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Brassad. Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and one of the things that I specifically like about this grant is that for new Americans coming here, there's oftentimes highly educated people here in one family unit, but then there's other family members that either can get more education and, you know, get in our workforce right away. And so it really focuses on expanding families in terms of a holistic approach and not just one member of a family.
Very good. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhardt?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
That item passes.
Then one more item for action today, and that is our committee recommended the county board adopt resolution number 2022-HS2 supporting the Coon Rapids Recycling Center expansion project, obviously to expand the recycling capabilities in Coon Rapids.
Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'll move the resolution.
The resolution has been offered by Commissioner Gamache. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you. I'm glad to see this. The recycling center that they have set up in Coon Rapids is one of the best that I've seen around. Hoping that some of the others will also maybe look into this, but they do such a fine job there and they have almost everything. So if everybody's trying to get rid of any kind of hard, firm styrofoam, the white styrofoam that you get in all those boxes of things you have delivered to your home, and you can't find a way to get rid of it, they take it there. So remember that as one of them that is useful. So I'm glad that they're expanding.
Yeah, and I'll follow up. I'm real proud of the work they do in Coon Rapids as far as recycling and sustainability. Colleen Sinclair, who runs that division, takes great pride in making sure that Coon Rapids does a real good job of not just accepting Coon Rapids recycling, but the entire county. So given the opportunity, recycling saves our landfills, and it's a much easier way than building more mountains of debris. So utilize these resources. I'm happy Coon Rapids is willing to do this, and they're a good partner. The city, the elected officials and the city staff in Coon Rapids are really good partners when it comes to recycling. Commissioner Luck.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad you mentioned Colleen. She does a fantastic job. I've had the opportunity to work with her on the SWAT meetings. But what I will say from a personal experience, City of Coon Rapids accepts the plastic bags that you use from your grocery stores. You know, I think a lot of those end up in the waste stream, and every time you drive by Elk River, you see them blown across the highway because they just don't degrade. But that is something that I think, you know, we have programs right now for compost where you put your compost in a disposable bag and you throw it in your waste stream, and then the sorters can pick those out, you know, and kind of that counts towards our compost goals. And I think ideally, we probably need to try and implement a similar system for bags where people can collectively put them in some method of container, another bag perhaps, but a larger bag so that our people can sort those out. What happens is they get caught in the machinery and shuts the whole machinery down because they just wind around the gears, and it's an awful situation. But aside from that, I think there's work that can be done on trying to identify that specific product and removing that from landfills, because it just gets caught up in everything, and they're so prevalent in our environment these days. So anyways, more work on that possibly coming from the SWAT committee meetings, but it's something that they do accept there. And I have probably fill the back of a pickup truck right now, kind of collected, you know, waiting to get over there to Coon Rapids to drop it off. But at any rate, it's something I think we do need to take a look at.
As a point of clarity for the public, Commissioner Look refers to Coon Rapids accepting plastic bags. That doesn't mean you should put them in your recycling. Don't put plastic bags in your recycling. They don't belong there. They need to go to the recycling center or the garbage at this point. They cannot go in your recycle bin, for clarity. Commissioner Gamache.
Just one last thing is Commissioner Look was mentioning plastic bags. As I was driving past the beautiful Rocket Nursery on Coon Creek Drive the other day, someone had decided they didn't know where to get rid of their mattress. Decided to put it right there. You can get rid of your mattresses at the Coon Rapids Recycling Center. They might charge you a little bit. I'm not 100% sure about that. But it's one of the most frustrating things that you see this spot where people just probably took their pickup truck and backed it up and threw it out into someone's nice area at Rocket Nursery. So, yeah, let's get this stuff recycled. Let's not dump it someplace into someone else and make it someone else's problem. Take the time and get it recycled.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache. You do have a resolution before you. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That resolution has passed.
Okay, well, the rest of my report here is informational and/or appointments to various community committees, which we'll be handling later in the agenda. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinert. We are now going to move over to our Intergovernmental and Community Relations Committee report, and to Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our IG committee met on April 19th, and we have 2 action items today, and they kind of go hand in hand. But the first, and they're both under the medical examiner's office. The first one is that the committee recommends the county board terminate a contract with DC Livery for medical examiner transport services in the St. Louis County region. This came about because DC Livery requested to cancel all existing transport arrangements with our medical examiner's office. So as we'll move on to the next item, we did find somebody to pick up that service. So action item 1 is just to terminate the current contract that we have.
Is there a motion to terminate the contract?
I'd like to make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Reinert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brasted,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
And that contract's been terminated. Item 2.
The committee recommends the county board approve a contract with Lake Superior Transport Services, LLC, for medical examiner transport services in the St. Louis County region in the amount of $600 per run. The contract term is April 1st to December 31st, 2022, at which time the contract will automatically renew for 3 one-year terms.
Is there a motion to approve the contract?
I'd like to move to approve this contract.
Commissioner Reinert has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Further discussion, Commissioner Reinert.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that in this change, there's an upside. The cost per ride, I believe we're saving $100 per ride. So there is a cost savings.
Very good. And I think more importantly, more consistent service from what I understand. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
That item passes.
That concludes my committee report.
Well, keep your mic hot then, because we'll turn right over to the Intergovernmental and Community Relations Chair Report. Commissioner Preston.
Thank you. I would recommend the Anoka County Board of Commissioners accept a proposed fee schedule change from the Medical Examiner's Office and forward it to the Finance and Central Services Department for inclusion in the May fee schedule public hearing. In the past, there has been a $1,250 fetal demise autopsy charge. And doing so would allow the organization to bill the contracted rate. If we do this change, it would become $2,000 per autopsy. So what they're saying is it really takes as long to do all the required autopsy procedures on a fetal. Such a horrible subject, right?
It is.
So they're looking to have it consistent. And so, yeah, that's it.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner West, second by Commissioner Reinert. I agree, Commissioner Brasted. These are hard subjects to talk about. This really is standardizing the practice that, well, recognizing that it takes just as long to do a fetal autopsy as it does an adult autopsy, and that the fee should reflect that. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Then that passes.
And that concludes my chair report.
Thank you, Commissioner Brasted. We will now go to the Property Records and Taxation Committee report. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Property Records and Taxation Committee, we did meet on April 19th. The first action item is always public commentary. And so public commentary is accepted either in person. However, I always do accept one via email as well. And you can do that, mandy.meisner@co.anoka.mn.us. As you guys know, I've been a huge advocate of public commentary in full board meetings, better public access to public meetings. So seeing this participation was really good. I really appreciated everyone. There was over 50 comments. This was actually in regards to our redistricting maps. So I did peruse in the workshop the 50 comments, and then I went back and I did read all of them. I also want to make a note that some of our board members were not at this PRT committee meeting because there was a conflicting other committee meeting, but we did record it. And so in our coordinated workshop with redistricting maps, all the commissioners did have an opportunity to listen to all in-person commentary. So I want to make a note of that. And then we did also speak, the League of Women Voters, they proposed their own maps. Commissioner Schulte did some thoughtful commentary during one of those workshops. And I just want to recognize that even though these maps, we didn't fully discuss as a board, I do appreciate, I think it was like 30 hours that this organization put into that. And for any detailed information about that, you can go onto their website. So thank you again for all the commentary. And then I did want to open it up to the rest of the board too, since this is in regards to redistricting, it was public commentary. If anyone else has anything to say about this portion, I open up to the full board. Okay, so seeing none, I will move on then to action item. We've got several under action item number 2, and I believe I can take A separate from B, C, and D. Or do I
Actually, I
take
think
them
we
all?
need to step back and do action item 1.
Oh, you are correct. Action item number 1, the committee recommends the county board adopt resolution 2022 PRT, authorizing execution of the 2022 Help America Vote Act Election Security Grant Agreement. And essentially, this grant is going to be improving our election security process, mainly through software. And I will move this resolution.
The resolution has been offered and is before you. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Reinhardt.
You know, since there's a lot of attention on this topic, I'm wondering if we could have a little bit of explanation or detail from staff on this item.
Yes, we'll call up Paul and Al from our Elections Division to give us a primer.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Reinhardt, members of the board. So what you have before you is a grant from the Help America Vote Act, which is federal funding that's passed through the state. The application for the grant was approved earlier this year, and so this would be us accepting the award of these funds as outlined here. The intention is to use these funds towards the upgrades to our voting equipment system. So a new certified version of the ES&S equipment that Anoka County has been using since 2013 that moves up to Windows 10 and Windows Server 2016. It'll be the latest certified version will be used. So this is basically our earliest opportunity to move to this new system that gets us to the highest level of what's currently certified for use in the state.
Further discussion? Commissioner Look and Commissioner West.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate Commissioner Reiner bringing up the fact that this is kind of a charged topic, a lot of information out there, a lot of people going around and talking about this topic. It's a good topic to talk about. And Paul, thank you for all your work and helping to educate maybe or talk through some of these issues. I think what's important to know too is regardless of the machines, we still have paper ballots. We still fill in our paper ballots and feed them into the machine, and those paper ballots are kept. And those paper ballots then allow us to audit the machine. So the machine comes up with 20 people voted, count up the paper ballots, there's 20 paper ballots. And I think that's really where I think people need to kind of zero in a little bit on. It's not just we're filling out information on a machine, it's going into a database, it could be manipulated at some point, the outcome could be different than what you actually put into it. The paper ballot can prove otherwise. Is that correct?
Commissioner, look, that's correct. In both the front end and the back end, our equipment is subject to preliminary testing. Every ballot counter that is used in each election is tested and must complete an errorless test before it is used prior to the election, as well as additional public accuracy testing that is open to the public. So that'll take place at the cities for precinct ballot counting equipment, as well as at the county for absentee ballot counting equipment. And then correct, as you referenced, post-election, there is a random selection of 4 precincts at the county canvassing board meeting. Those precincts are then subject to a hand count of the votes in select races. So following each general election that takes place, and those are hand counted. If there are any discrepancies between those counts, it is subject to escalation and additional counting of more precincts. Anoka County has not been ever subject to any escalation. Our counts have always matched out within those thresholds.
So, Mr. Chair, just as a follow-up then, I think, I think that some of the fears that are out there can certainly be mitigated a little bit through this post-audit that we have of what the paper ballot says and what the machine says. As indicated, they're randomly selected, so it's going to be a little difficult if something was at play to be able to know exactly what random ones were going to be picked to be able to change those numbers. To try and deceive that process. But I think, I'm in favor of the auditing. I think there's benefit in doing that. I think we may even want to consider doing more. There's obviously a cost to doing that. But that certainly, I think, allows people to have a lot more confidence in our election process, particularly in Anoka County. I cannot speak to any other county in the state and what they do and how they do it or what, sort of auditing they do. But as far as Anoka County goes, I know we've had some people that are sounding alarms out there saying, well, Anoka County is the best one out there. You know, so they do kind of make those comments as well, which is good to know because we've fought back a little bit on these accusations that are out there saying, wait a minute, you know, that doesn't necessarily apply to us. We can't speak to other counties. But as far as Anoka County goes, I think we have certainly one of the best processes here. And Paul, you've done a fantastic job of being the gatekeeper on a lot of this information, so we appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner West.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul, I'd like to verify all the votes that go through the paper ballot is where the vote is shown in the electronic machine. It's all tallied before it goes across any internet communication.
Correct. So any results at the polling place are tabulated on the ballot counter. Tapes are printed and signed by the election judges at the polling place. There is a transmission of unofficial results back to the county through a secured firewall. That is part of the upgrade that's taking place as well to get that onto what's called a zero tunnel with Verizon, so an additional layer of security in that transmission, again, of unofficial results. That process allows us to get those results posted very quickly on election night, so we have those totals. And then those tapes, both on the polling place and absentee totals, are always compared to the results as posted to the Secretary of State site and what is included in our official abstracts of those election results. So we always have those tapes that are printed as well as the official record, which is the hand-marked paper ballots.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I just want to comment that if we want to control cheating in voting, people should be required to show their identification.
Thank you, Commissioner West. Commissioner Reinhardt.
I actually do show my ID. They tell me it's not necessary, but I do it anyway. Public confidence, Commissioner Look, is exactly what the topic is here. We need to have fair elections to, you know, defend our democracy here. So one thing that, or a couple of things people have been talking to me about is the fact that these machines are also on Wi-Fi, and there's some nervousness about that. I did talk to you about that, though, and they're not just available to connect to by anyone. They're a 256-bit encryption, I believe, is what you told me. It sounds like there's, with this update, additional safety. You know, you talked about a zero tunnel that's new. And then moving even to an update to Windows 10, I think it was, what, 7 or 8 before?
Windows 7.
Yeah, so it's, you know, 9 years later now there's an update. And so we should not only have a more lockdown operation on the election this fall, but then, you know, we do an audit afterwards as well. So I think Anoka County is looking good. Can never be too careful, though. It's very important.
Commissioner Look.
No, wait, I think he's got, Paul?
If I may, Commissioner Reiner, Mr. Chair, one point of clarification. The ballot counters are not connected to Wi-Fi at all. That is for the electronic poll books. The hotspots are used for transmission of supplemental absentee reports to ensure that those rosters are updated and reflect those absentee voters that have already cast an absentee ballot in the polling place.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And I believe the reason for that is just so that actually have more security at the polling places, so that people can't, basically all of the information is updated, so someone can't come in and say, I didn't vote yet. Everything's updated. So if someone comes in and tries to vote under somebody else's name, it will be updated, correct?
That is correct, and it comes from a static roster file. It's not connected to anywhere else. It's not connected to the Secretary of State site. It's a static file that we push out those updates to for additional absentee voters, for ballots that we get back on Election Day to ensure that those are properly marked on the polling place roster.
Okay, very good. The more we understand this, the better. It's not an easy topic.
Commissioner Look.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recently had a conversation with a person that said that they witnessed someone downloading, printing off deceased information of people that have been deceased within the last 5 years or whatever the time frame was, and they were perplexed as to why someone would be interested in that information, but it was right around voting time. So they believed that, well, they may be trying to take this information for purposes of using those names. For example, they go in and they vouch for somebody, and someone deceased, John Smith deceased, and they claim that they're John Smith, and they try and vote. Can you explain to us a little bit the database that we have that kind of cross-references this type of information to prevent it from being used in such a way?
Sure. Commissioner Look, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Our office regularly receives reports through the Department of Health as well as through the county to indicate voters that have passed away. Those records are updated on a daily basis and marked as deceased in the system. So as soon as we get that information, we make those updates. Those voters are no longer going to appear on the polling place roster. And those rosters are generated 20 days beginning, that's the cutoff for registering 20 days prior to Election Day. So within that window for any voters that pass away, those updates wouldn't be reflected on that roster. So we would obviously have that, if it's an absentee situation, if we've got a voter starting 46 days prior to election, if they've cast an absentee ballot already, we are required to go and pull that ballot before it's opened and actually remove it from secure ballot storage because the voter has passed away. So we use those updates to constantly ensure that the roster reflects the most current information. If we do have any information post-election that suggests that a voter that has passed away has cast a ballot and those timeframes are in question, we will review that information and refer it on to the county attorney's office if the situation dictates that.
Okay. And just one follow-up then. I know that in Anoka County, we've prosecuted for voter fraud in the past, and I know that we'll continue to do so when we find it. But what are we seeing in terms of voter fraud? If it happens, how are we prosecuting that? Do you have an example of that?
What I can speak to is in that post-election data entry process when we're entering vote history for voters, which takes place in those 6 weeks following Election Day. If we get an instance where we have a voter that was challenged for a felony and we review that information, it appears they are still serving probation, we'll outline details, the dates, the facts of that, and refer it on to the county attorney's office. So any situation that falls within those parameters where it appears a violation may have taken place, that information is referred from our office to the county attorney for review, and then based on the facts that they've reviewed and additional investigation, they may determine to bring that forward for prosecution.
So, Mr. Chair, just to finish here, I'll speak to the creativity of man or humans, if you will, and it seems like if there's a will, there's almost a way to try and do things if they want to. But what I will say is I firmly believe that we have just a professional team at work here that is able to foresee some of these things, able to set up roadblocks, if you will, to prevent these things from happening. I have every bit of confidence in our team. And again, let me just say I appreciate the work that you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Look. Commissioner Meisner.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I really appreciate this conversation. Election integrity is obviously important, and to be able to talk about this and discuss this and educate the public is a really good thing. I did want to, my numbers might not be exact, but to Commissioner Look's question about percentages and things like that, I believe our last election cycle, we had over 211,000 votes in total. I believe 11 were initially flagged, as you were just suggesting. They went to the attorney's office. Of those 11 or 12, I think 4 were determined as fraudulent. So I don't know what that is, 0.0004% or something like that. So it is really low in Anoka County. To your point, we do a very good job here. There are a lot of checks and balances through every possible part of the process and every pathway in for a voter to vote. So anyway, I did just want to give you some numbers in regards to percentages with that. And again, I appreciate just this robust conversation, and thank you so much, Paul.
Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank Paul and his staff for all the hard work they do and the many hours that they put in, and also the volunteers that are at the polling places when elections go on, and how many people that do that for volunteers but very little pay, I guess is how I would, and they're there all day long, and I appreciate the work that they do because they're always friendly, they're always knowledgeable if you have any questions for voters, but I've just was adding up how many times now that I've been on a ballot, and it's like 12 times, and I've never had any questions about election issues or fraud. I know that there's odd things when you start looking at records and you start looking at numbers of how many people voted in this election, how many people voted in this election, and how many people voted for the top of the ticket, and then you get down to where, well, in my case, I was looking at how many people voted for the mayor. I wonder how I missed so many votes, and it's just a matter of people only start at the top and they never go further down the list. They just want to vote for the top and they kind of forget us lowly local officials.
Maybe they didn't want to vote for you.
Maybe not, yeah, I can believe it. But anyways, it was just interesting to me that as you go through the numbers and you look at that, you begin to say, okay, that's odd, but then you begin to understand that not everybody votes for everybody. I mean, a lot of people say, I'm not going to vote for the judges because they never have any opponents. And then they leave the whole back side of the ballot that you have to flip over empty sometimes. But I appreciate the hard work and everybody that does it because it is semi-volunteer for the people that are at the polling places, and they just do a fantastic job. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache. I next have Commissioner Reinert, then Commissioner Brasted.
Yeah, just a quick comment to Commissioner Meisner's statement about that there were some people that were caught at the last election. I just want to mention that they were adjudicated, and so if you're going to cheat in Anoka County, you will be held to account.
Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's a perfect time to put out that we need election judges. We're always running short, both major parties. So Paul, can you perhaps educate people if they want to get involved? And that's really what we need. We need more people involved to make sure that we have integrity in our elections. What does someone want to have to do? What's the process if they're willing to serve as an election judge?
Absolutely. Commissioner Brasted, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The process sort of begins with interest with the major political party. So if an individual does affiliate with one of those parties, they'll want to get in touch with that party to have their information passed along what are referred to as the political party lists of election judges. We're sort of right at that deadline. Those are due to the Secretary of State by May 1st, and then subsequently passed on to the counties and to the cities around May 15th. So counties and cities that are hiring election judges are required to exhaust those lists first. With additional needs, then other judges are hired to fill out those ranks. So they can actually go to the Anoka County website and fill out an interest form there, and we'll refer that on to the cities for hiring to work as an election judge at the polling place. And then we'll also have some information out shortly as we're staffing and recruiting for absentee ballot board positions that will require election judges as well.
Thank you.
Very good. So what I just heard is it's not too late.
Absolutely not. I think it's
Reach out immediately. You've got this week. After this week, you'll have missed the deadline for this cycle.
and Mr. Chair, I think there will still be opportunities beyond that party list, and I'm certain, as has been the case in past years, we are typically recruiting beyond the names that come through that list. So continue to reach out and express your interest. I know the cities and county will be looking for judges.
Thank you. I've got some I'd like to add, but you've all covered it really well. And if it isn't obvious to our viewing public that we take elections seriously, they're not paying attention. This board is very serious about election integrity and that your vote matters and counts, and that we take every vote that's cast seriously. We keep them in paper ballot form so we know exactly how you voted, and we audit it and make sure it matches the electronic equipment. With that, there is a resolution before you with no further discussion. This does require a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bradsted?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
That item passes. Back to
Okay.
you, Commissioner Meisner.
Thank-
And to answer your question, yes, you can take item 2A through F altogether.
Oh, altogether I can. Okay. The only reason I question is because the 2A is about right of way, and then but that does not matter. Okay.
You know, to be safe, let's take 2A separate. I'm not sure, so let's take it separate, and then we'll do the others.
Perfect, thank you. So action item number 2 is A through E, but we'll take A separately. So these are all about tax forfeited properties or pieces of land. And so the first one is Resolution PRT 2022 PRT 3, and this is application by Anoka County Highway, tax forfeited property, and this is for the conditional use of road of right-of-way, and I will move that.
There's a resolution offered and before you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That resolution has been adopted.
Thank you. And then taking action item 2B through E, and I'll just read off the numbers, but these are throughout the county and still within tax forfeited properties. So PRT 4, 2022, PRT 5, 2022, PRT 6, 2022, and PRT 7, 2022. And I will move that as a slate.
The resolutions B through E have been offered. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All those resolutions are adopted.
Thank you. The rest is informational, but actually we covered it because our informational part, which I always like to share with the public, was a presentation about election security from Paul and all of the things we talked about. We talked about the paper ballots, we talked about the errorless test, and then actually for the county, that is open for the public, which is on Tuesday, July 26th. And then we also talked about how we randomly select 4 precincts after every election and make sure that everything is matching up. And that is probably the most exciting PRT committee discussion that I've ever had in the 3 years. So again, thank you, everybody. Our next PRT meeting will be Tuesday, May 17th, 10:30 a.m. in this room. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Meisner. We will now go to the Anoka County Public Safety Committee Chair Report. Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first item is that I would recommend adoption of Resolution 2022-PS02. It's a resolution declaring April 30th, 2022 as Therapy Animal Day in Anoka County. We know there's thousands of therapy animal dogs serving our communities, and they play an essential role in improving human health and well-being through the animal-human bond. So I'd like to offer that resolution.
The resolution has been offered and is before you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That item passes unanimously.
And the next item is that I would recommend the county board approve a contract with the Human Trafficking Investigators Task Force Joint Powers Agreement between the state of Minnesota, acting through its Commissioner of Public Safety on behalf of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, and the County of Anoka on behalf of its sheriff for a 5-year term. This is a partnership that we've been involved in for many years, which specifically focuses in on the human trafficking issue.
Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make this motion. Very important work.
I have a motion by Commissioner Reinert, second by Commissioner Look. And I think we all agree, this is very important work. Any further discussion? And this requires a roll call vote.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Brasted?
Aye.
That item passes.
I would recommend adoption of Resolution 2022-PS03, and this is accepting a dedicated donation from AKC Reunite in the amount of $7,500, specifically to be used for canine training in our sheriff's office. And I'll offer that resolution.
The resolution has been offered. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Brasted?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
That item passes.
And the last one is that I would recommend adoption of Resolution 2022-PS04, accepting a dedicated donation from Guy Lidstad and Jennifer Roth in the amount of $20,000. And again, it's their request that this be used to purchase, canine and its training. And, once again, it's just amazing how generous people in our community are, and the generosity that they're willing to go to for public safety. We really are in a community that supports public safety, and I'm happy to offer that resolution.
Resolution has been offered. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reiner?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Basted?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye. That item passes.
And that concludes my Public Safety Chair report.
Thank you, Commissioner Breasted. That brings us to item 9 on your agenda, where we'll consider a resolution approving Anoka County's 2022 Annual Action Plan for the Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Program, and authorize submission of such grant request to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'll offer it.
Resolution has been offered by Commissioner Gamache. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Reiner?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Basted?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
That item passes. Item 10 on your agenda is committee appointments. We'll consider the following relating to the Anoka County Children and Family Council, reappointing Bukala Oriola to the Enneton Story as a community agency representative for a 3-year term from June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2025. And we'll also consider reappointing Amanda Ulrich and Kathy McCorkle as parent representatives for the 3-year terms from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th of 2025. Is there a motion to approve both?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Meisner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Reinert. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Those appointments have been made. Next, we'll consider appointing Chris Shaw as Community Health Representative to the Adult Mental Health Advisory Committee for a 3-year term ending April of 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Reinert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That appointment's been made. And next, we'll consider appointing Mary Campbell and Patrick Parker to the Coon Creek Watershed District Board of Managers for 3-year terms ending May 27th of 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Brasted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Further discussion? Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a little background information. 3 of us commissioners interviewed the applicants, and we had a large number of applicants this time, which it's really nice to see people getting involved, because there's been times we just haven't had any applicants, and we've had to, try to round people up. So it's kind of interesting, within the Coon Creek Watershed District, there's different hydrologic areas. And so our goal has always been to fill every one of these areas first before we duplicate. And so with these 2 appointments, we have 2 representatives now in 2 areas that we didn't have people. So it was very productive. We had good people, and so happy to see this happen.
And with that, I again served on that interview committee. We had great applicants, and thrilled that they're wanting to be involved, but would really like to extend a thank you to Warren Hoffman, who served for many, many years on that board and did a really good job, and is taking this opportunity to retire from that board. And he represented, I believe, Ham Lake, your area, where you are, Commissioner Brasted, and really want to thank him. He carried a heavy load for a long time, and we really appreciate that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then those 2 appointments have been made. Commissioner Meisner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this the end of the meeting?
We're going to end the meeting. What do you have to say?
I forgot. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Mr. Chair. I realized I forgot to say something in my PRT committee meeting. I referenced that we had 50 comments about redistricting. Our redistricting board meeting is going to be happening today at 1 o'clock, and so I did want to also provide that information, which I forgot. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our meeting today. We are adjourned. The HRA will commence in 5 minutes, 11 o'clock.